holding it, doing all those things. I was going, I think we're good to go. We have 20 minutes left, plus, extra time. But then Vancouver comes back in the 81st minute, scores a goal.
And again, I mean, it wasn't quite, it was basically a set piece.
Yeah.
I mean, it was two passes separated from
separate.
a set
Yep.
piece. And
it was a set piece goal, correct?
Well, it was a quick corner.
Yep.
Didn't know who it was, and then it went out again towards the midfield and then in. So I mean, it was technically set piece, but you could argue it wasn't quite
on the short corner.
Short corner, yeah.
So I mean, it was a communication issue
again, yeah.
And this time it was Boxall and it was Opara.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have that issue.
Yeah.
I mean, Opara's a fantastic center back.
He is.
But you got two guys who've never played with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have those issues. And I would imagine you're going to have those issues probably several games in yet.
Yeah.
But, it was one of those things where Opara moved forward and left two men for Boxall.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Boxall didn't even try to do anything.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
So,
no.
I mean, I honestly think that had Henry not gotten the goal, Reese would have gotten the goal.
Yeah.
Because Boxall couldn't, I mean, even if he did do what he was supposed to do, there still would have been someone there.
Yeah, exactly.
That was unmarked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's set piece.
It's a set piece. And we've talked about the set piece thing on this podcast numerous times.
Constantly last season.
Not only our own set pieces, with Gregus, or Gregus, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Him now taking the
corners have looked better.
Corners.
The two corners, we had three corners.
Yeah. Him doing the corners, that's going to raise us up a little bit on that.
I think so, yeah.
But the set pieces that are against us, again, communication is going to be the key. And yesterday we saw that twice with communication.
Yeah. And there were even a few unsuccessful set pieces for Vancouver that were just kind of like...
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't know. Yeah.
So we're still talking about set pieces.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. I mean, last season, set pieces were a problem because they were just a problem.
Yeah, they were.
And now this season, early, obviously, are a problem because they're new players.
They're new players,
I think. I mean, there is a chance. We have two common denominators.
Yeah.
Boxall and Calvo.
Yeah.
So there is a chance that they're just bad at set pieces.
They could be,
but
I think
it's an area, as you pointed out earlier in the podcast, it's an area that can be easily fixed.
Yes. It can be, yes.
If they give a shit to do it.
And it should be fixed, and I expect it to be fixed. I really do. There's too much talent now, for those types of things to happen.
Way too much
Twice,
talent.
really.
And talent last night, talent was not my issue. It wasn't. Right. It was great to watch a team like this, which has a bunch of talent, do the things they were doing last night.
Yeah.
I was very excited.
And then that being said, you just said they gave up the second goal, so now it's all of a sudden a one-goal game.
And there's
but the ball game is not over. So
and there's 9 minutes left.
There's 9 minutes left. However, in that unlike last year, I can think of several games off the top of my head, but unlike last year, they did for the most part. The Loons did a good job of kind of shutting down.
They did
shutting down the game. They went to the far corner several times. They used up the minutes. I think there was just a couple instances where maybe Heath wasn't too happy at some kind of longer passes attempted by Quintero.
Yeah,
at least one towards the end of the game.
Yeah, and I think that last 9 minutes was a little sketchy. And then I tweeted out right at the stoppage time. I was like, these last 4 minutes are going to define the season.
Yes.
Because we all know we've allowed a lot of late goals.
And I can think of at least one Twitter user who follows the Lunacy podcast on Twitter who maybe thought you were being a bit too dramatic with that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it's true.
I wanted to know when exactly you sent that tweet, and that was...
It was probably 91.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's honestly true, and it's kind of that. It's a bit over dramatic, but at the same time, it's one of those things where we had a lot of problems with late goals.
Yep.
And being able to be up and to fight off an opponent who 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, you have the lead, you're going to give up a lot of possession.
You are, yeah.
I mean, the possession shifted significantly in those last 10 minutes.
It did. That's right, yep.
When we talked, speaking of possession, just real quick hitter, is that we mentioned that possession was about 58-42 or in that ballpark, and then just to sum your point up, David, it ended 51-50 possession.
Yeah. So. And so that, to me, it was one of those things where it was, look, I'm sending out that tweet because if we can sit down and we can buckle down and we can hold them, it's showing we have taken a new step that as a team we haven't had before.
And we did.
Yeah.
But the extra time was nerve-wracking because they should have called the game
about a minute
early. Because there was no way Vancouver's, and then they kind of let Vancouver kind of get it back, and I'm going, why aren't you calling the game right now? This is over, you know? So, I mean, it was a little nerve-wracking at the end there. But are you looking at the tweet right now? What's the tweet?
I can read it if you want.
But
no, it's credit where credit's due. Tim Bergen, one of our friends of the podcast here, a friend of mine.
Yeah, friend of yours, yep.
His comment, he attached a screenshot of the tweet, which was essentially paraphrasing, the next 4 minutes will define our season. Tim suggested, time to attach a breathalyzer to this Twitter account.
Oh, jeez.
So,
I mean,
but I understand exactly what you're saying because what I started this by saying was we've seen too many times, specifically last year, where
and I'm sorry,
and you know the great thing about Twitter is it's all hot takes, right?
Yeah, it's hot takes.
I purposefully send out tweets that don't have an explanation.
Yeah, you do
to try to engage people. But
and that's exactly what it did.
So I suppose I could follow it up with an explanation as to what I meant.
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody will just listen to this podcast.
But I know Tim a little bit, but is Tim a big soccer guy?
He is. Yeah,
he is a big soccer guy?
Yep.
So he should know that watching the last 2 years of this team, he should know that the end of the games have been sometimes been goat rodeos.
Yeah.
And saying that in a game like this where it was 3-2, I mean, a little over-exaggeration on your part, Sterling.
And that's the point of it.
That's the point of it.
Yeah.
But again, if they gave up that goal, and then we went, and somehow we gave another goal and we lost.
Well, even at that one point, I mean, if we were sitting here right now talking about how the Loons got a point on the road, just as a whole.
Yeah.
Overall, you'd think we'd be okay with that. Yeah. However, when you're up 3-1 in a game, to give up, to get them within a goal within 9 minutes left, you get a little bit nervous.
And that post-game interview with Adrian Heath would have been very different. Had that been a draw.
I mean, I don't think we brought this up. I know we wanted to. We were talking about this is their first road win. Against a Western Conference,
which is amazing.
I didn't
believe you when you talked to me about it in the car. I didn't believe that.
So when you're telling me,
I didn't realize it either.
It's almost hard to believe. I mean, the record was 119-1 against Western Conference opponents.
I mean, I guess we've beaten Chicago and Orlando,
all Eastern,
and
on the
Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And you're never going to make the playoffs with a record like that.
No.
So I mean, you have an opportunity to grab that by the throat and say, we're going to take these 3 points. We're going to win our first game on the road against a Western Conference opponent.
So now in October, when we beat out Vancouver for a playoff spot, I'm going to be able to go back to your buddy and be like, hey, it defined our season.
It did. It very well could be. Yeah.
So to close this all up, guys, a couple quick points here. We win 3-2. We get off to a great start to the season. We're excited because if you listen to this podcast, you know that last year we got to the middle of the season, we're talking about playoffs, and then it just went off the cliff.
Yeah,
and we were talking about losses and crappy play.
We enjoyed talking about the playoffs in June of last year, I'm sure.
Well,
and from there it kind of went downhill.
Yeah. So let's talk just a little bit briefly before we go to break here. Let's talk about Darwin yesterday.
Yep. And
because as I brought up to you guys before the podcast, it seemed like last year when we had big wins, Darwin was the catalyst for those wins.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Either he was scoring 3 goals or he was getting a lot of assists. Yesterday, he was part of the machine, like I like to say. He was a cog in it that everybody played well. He did have the PK that he got, and he did have an assist.
He had 2 assists, actually.
He had 2 assists.
his box score looks nice with 1 goal and 2 assists,
but
3 shots.
We weren't talking yesterday about this being Darwin has to get us to a win.
Right.
We were talking more about the team as a whole, and he was doing his job as part of the team.
Right.
And his passing, like we talked about, didn't look as crisp as it was.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And some of his footwork.
Yeah.
There was a couple plays there where last year Darwin would get into a little bit of a box with 1 or 2 players, and he'd get out of it. Like, he would make a move, and he got... Yesterday there was a couple times where he'd make a move, but they were on him, like, right away.
Right.
So I don't know if it's rust. It probably is
be,
rust. But it's nice to see... it's only the first game. It's nice to see Darwin being part of the machine, doing it, and not being the whole team. He can still be the catalyst, but he does not need to...
And he's playing in the number 10 spot, so he should be the catalyst.
And I think he was the catalyst.
He was the catalyst, but he doesn't have to be as superstar-y as he was last year. He's still going to get his points. Yeah. But I don't think we're going to go into many games this year going, well, Darwin won it for us. It's going to be Darwin plus this guy all had great games. We're going to see that this year.
And I think that's a big point. You know, that's why teams have 3 DPs instead of 1 DP.
Yeah.
That's why teams have 3 DPs and say 3 or 4 other guys that their roster position is kind of supported by TAM and they're getting paid more because that's the point. You're supposed to have more than a one-man show.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on.
It makes it exciting. I mean, it's last year we talked so much about Darwin. It got to be a broken record.
Right.
Because he was winning games for us. This year, this first game, I know it's only 1 game.
Right.
But if this continues, I'm going to be very excited because I'm going to go, every game's going to have a new kind of star. It reminds me of the Twins. Remember when the Piranhas were around, the Twins? Every game there was somebody. It was Punto doing this or somebody else doing that. It was a team effort.
Right.
They didn't have one guy who was crazy good and, doing that.
See, I would keep the baseball and talk the Brewers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how the Brewers are. They've been, I mean, sure, Christian Yelich has been
he's been
superstar,
phenomenal. Yeah.
but there were still other pieces that came and did their job.
Kane.
When they needed to do their job.
The Brewers, I know the Brewers a little bit. Kane. You have, who's that reliever that you guys have? That big, tall, white guy with the flowing hair.
It's baseball. It's tall, white guys.
That guy was great. It's so, but
I'm trying to think
what your point is the same thing. I mean, it's you want to have a team where everybody is involved.
Right.
And last night I saw that. I saw very much that from this team, and makes me excited.
And then even if it doesn't show up on the box score, like a Metnier, who he didn't show up on the box score with an assist or goal. However, he came tearing down that right side, and he had numerous crosses in, and they weren't just bullets. They were he'd chip them in, he'd lob them in, and you could see it.
Yeah, and point that out. For instance, Miguel his passing was in the high 80%. I mean, Ozzy, his passing was, I think I calculated right at 96%.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Manone's passing was like 32%.
I'm surprised it was that low. One thing I did notice from Manone, he didn't have to come up with the huge saves. Right. He really didn't have to. But I think one thing was obvious. Is his hands.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
There was maybe there was a couple shots that maybe weren't quite on goal, but you could see his hands.
Well, and I pointed out at one time I yelled at you. It was he grabbed the ball and he immediately tossed it out.
Yes,
and it turned into an attack.
Exactly. Yeah,
and it's like that. We have not had that.
Yeah, Bobby was terrible at that.
Yeah.
And his kicks, getting it out of the zone.
Right.
He was booming kicks.
Yeah, I mean, they were like 70 yards.
Yeah, and I was going, this is what we need in a goalkeeper. Right. I'm sorry, Bobby. I mean, you made some great plays, but you couldn't get the ball out of your zone to save your life.
And it also, I should point out, I was taking that calculation off of MLS's, off of their chalkboard. Yep. So I'm not sure how they score an unsuccessful pass.
Sure.
There's a chance that maybe that unsuccessful pass it went off a Vancouver player, so it was unsuccessful.
Yeah.
But we may still have obtained possession.
And I think those from a goalkeeper, those booming kicks, a lot of times it could probably hit a Vancouver player and then we get it back, and that's called unsuccessful because it didn't go